Can you imagine how amazing it would be if God let you know what questions were going to be on the test the next day at school? That's what happened to Saint John Bosco while he attended the public school in Chieri when he was a young man. Let's see how his teacher and classmates reacted to this prophetic foresight. The Miracles and Prophecies of Saint John Bosco, a project of America Needs Fatima. I'm your host, Matthew Miller. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. John Bosco was 16 years old and had just received the supernatural dream in which God told him of his mission to do apostolate with the youth. His mother, Margaret, distressed over the fact that John had already lost so much time away from his education, decided to send him to Chieri to attend the public school there in the coming year. She gave him this joyful news with her usual smile and immediately set to work to pack the things he would need. But John, understanding how poor they were, frankly suggested, "If you don't mind, Mother, let me take 2 sacks with me and make the rounds of every family in our hamlet. This way I'll make a collection." Margaret gave her consent. This was to be a difficult test for John's pride, but he overcame his reluctance to go begging and faced his humiliation. These were but the first steps along the arduous road he was to follow until his dying day. "Humble yourself the more, the greater you are, and you will find favor with God," from the book of Sirach. John submitted himself to this humiliation, and God exalted him. He knocked at every door in Morialdo. Mothers received him like their own son, and children welcomed him like a brother. He told them of the dire straits in which he found himself. They responded by giving him bread, cheese, corn, and a few bits of wheat. Such a meager store of provisions certainly couldn't last him very long. One day, a woman from Becchi went to Castelnuovo on some business. In the public square, she loudly deplored the parish priest's inability to help John become a priest. Here was a boy who, in her opinion, could preach far better sermons than all the priests in the parish. Her receptive audience advised her to go to the pastor and just tell him about it. The woman agreed and went straight to the rectory. The pastor, Father Dassano, called upon some wealthy parishioners, collected a sum of money from them, and sent it to Mama Margaret. She accepted it most gratefully, and with it bought John some badly needed clothes. Another concern of Margaret's was to find some truly good family with whom she could board John without worry. Probably on the pastor's advice, she chose the home of Lucy Mata. This woman was from her own village and was now a widow. She was going to Chieri to look after her own son, who was already attending school there. A monthly fee of 21 lire was agreed upon. Since Margaret was unable to pay the full amount, John was to make up for it by performing sundry chores. This would include hauling firewood, fetching water, hanging out the wet laundry, and similar odd jobs. Don Bosco wrote of his time at the public school in Chieri, saying, "The first person I met was Father Eustatius Villamberti of happy memory, who gave me much good advice on how to keep out of trouble. He also asked me to serve his Mass, and thus provided more opportunities for giving me good advice. He introduced me to the principal and to my other teachers. Meanwhile, classes had begun. Since the schooling I had received until then had been of a random character, fragmentary and superficial, even though it had provided me with useful knowledge, I was advised to enter a grade corresponding today to the preparatory course for the first year of high school. My age and size made me stand out among my classmates, and I was anxious to find a way out of this situation. After 2 months, I managed to reach the head of my class, took an examination, and was promoted to the first year of high school. I was very happy because my new classmates were somewhat older and more mature. 2 more months passed, during which I succeeded several times in being at the head of my class. Another exception was made for me. I took an examination and was promoted to the second year of high school. However, Joseph Sima, my instructor, was a very strict disciplinarian. Upon seeing a student as tall and husky as himself come to his class in the middle of the school year, he jokingly remarked to the whole class, "This boy is either a numbskull or a genius," Which do you think?" Disconcerted by his severe appearance, I replied, "I'm something between the two. I just want to learn and make headway in my studies." My reply pleased him, and he said, "If you're willing to learn, you're in good hands, and I shall keep you busy. Don't be afraid, and if you find yourself in difficulties, let me know at once. I'll straighten things out." I thanked him with all my heart. I was in that class for about 2 months when a minor episode caused much talk about me. One day, the teacher was discussing the life of Agesilaus by Cornelius Nepos. I didn't have the book with me because I had forgotten it at home. To cover up my forgetfulness, I kept Donatus's grammar open in front of me. Not knowing what to do while listening to the teacher, I turned the pages now this way, now that. Some companions noticed it. There was some giggling and then laughter. This was a breach of discipline. "What's the matter?" asked the teacher. "What's wrong? Tell me." Since all eyes were turned upon me, he ordered me to read over the passage and put the words in proper sequence for translation, and then repeat the explanation he had given. I stood up, still holding my grammar, and after repeating the passage from memory, I recited the words in their logical sequence with all the comments the teacher had made shortly before. When I was through, my companions almost instinctively cried out in admiration and loudly applauded. The teacher was fuming, because this was the first time in his experience that he had been unable to control the class. He tried to rap me on the head, but I dodged the blow. Then, resting his hand on my book, he asked those sitting near me the reason for such an outburst. I was about to tell him everything respectfully, but the others broke in. "Bosco had Donatus's grammar in front of him all the time, but he recited and explained the passage as if he were reading from Cornelius." The teacher took Donatus's grammar from me and made me continue for a couple of paragraphs. Then, suddenly switching from anger to amazement and then admiration, he said, "I shall forgive all your negligence because of your amazing memory. You're a lucky boy. Make good use of such talent." During those high school years, John, in addition to his intelligence and memory, had yet another secret talent, extraordinary and very valuable. Such was the opinion of his former classmates, who told us the following incidents. But before we hear about this extraordinary grace from God, I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to enroll in our Saturday Mass intentions for the promoters of Saint John Bosco, just click on the link in the description below. Or you can wait till the end of the video and click on the Mass logo that appears on the screen. It's a beautiful Mass said in the traditional Byzantine rite for all of your intentions. You don't have to become a monthly donor to have a Mass prayed for you, but if you do, you could receive excellent books written by Saint John Bosco like this one, Sacred History. And there are many other things as well, but you can read all about it if you click on the link. Thanks be to God, this channel is somehow helping people, even Salesians, as you can see in this comment which says, "I'm a Salesian, but I'm learning much about Don Bosco." So please help me keep this channel ad-free and spread the message of Don Bosco far and wide. One night, John dreamed that his teacher had given a monthly test to determine class rank, and that he was doing it. The moment he awoke, he jumped out of bed, wrote out the test, a Latin passage, and began translating it with the assistance of a priest, a friend of his. Believe it or not, that very morning, the teacher did give a test, and it was the same Latin passage John had dreamed about. Thus, quite quickly, and without needing a dictionary, he translated it as he had done after awaking from his dream. Of course, the result was amazing. When the teacher questioned him, he candidly told him what had happened, to the teacher's great amazement. On another occasion, John handed in his test so quickly that the teacher seriously doubted that the boy could have managed all its grammatical problems in such a short time. So he went over the test very carefully. He was amazed to find it totally correct and asked to see his first draft. John gave it to him, and again the teacher was speechless. He had prepared that test only the night before. It had turned out rather lengthy, and therefore the teacher had dictated only half of it. Yet in John's composition book, the test was written out in its entirety, down to the last word. How could it be explained? John couldn't have copied it overnight, nor could he possibly have broken into the teacher's house, which was a considerable distance from where John lived. What was it? He confessed, "Well, I dreamed it." It was for this reason that his schoolmates nicknamed him the Dreamer. When asked about his dreams, Don Bosco never denied them. Furthermore, he told the Salesians of many other similar happenings, some really very marvelous, about 150 of them. Don Bosco and the word dream are now heavily associated with one another. If this biography were to ignore this fact, his former pupils by the thousands would have asked, what about his dreams? It's truly astounding how this phenomenon went on in his life for 60 years. After a day marked by many worrisome problems and hard work, he would no sooner rest his weary head on his pillow than he would enter a new world of ideas and visions that would exhaust him till dawn. No other man could have endured this continuous shifting from a natural to a preternatural or even supernatural level without serious mental injury. Don Bosco could. He was always calm and deliberate in all his actions. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you're interested in becoming a promoter of Saint John Bosco, just click on the link over here. God bless you, and Our Lady keep you.